Welcome to APUSH History with Lennox. I'm Lennox, and we are in time period number 3, which covers the years of 1754 to 1800. Our topic today is going to be the French and Indian War. Before we say anything else, I want to make this perfectly clear. The French and Indian War was not a war between the French and the Indians. It actually was part of a global war that was being fought between the British, the French, and the Spanish. And that global war spilled over into North America. And the French and Indian War was actually fought between Great Britain and the colonists against France and her Native American allies. When we look at the causes of the war, it's all about land and who holds it. There was a region in the French claimed land called the Ohio River Valley, and the Ohio River Valley was coveted by everyone due to its rich soil, its large amounts of game and wildlife, as well as the rivers for transportation. English colonists had started moving into the Ohio River Valley, and the French were pushing back. Now, this whole thing got started when the British viewed the French as a threat to colonial expansion. The colonists were looking to expand westward into the Ohio River Valley. And in 1753, the Virginia militia is going to send a young lieutenant colonel by the name of George Washington to warn the French not to interfere with British colonial expansion. He is going to go to Fort Duquesne, a newly built French fort, and he is going to actually launch a surprise attack and take the fort back from the French. They're not going to stand for that too long, and they're going to come back and attack, and Washington is going to be forced to surrender. This is what's going to spur the war between Great Britain and France here in North America. Essentially, what caused the French and Indian War to start was territorial disputes. While all this is going on in the Ohio River Valley, representatives from various colonies are going to come together in Albany. This meeting is called the Albany Congress, and the main purpose of this meeting was for the colonists to come together and create a plan of defense against the French and the Native Americans and explore how they would align themselves with Great Britain. These delegates not only discussed the defense of the colonies, they also started discussing future westward expansion as well as trade going forward. Now, one person who was in attendance at this meeting was Benjamin Franklin. And Benjamin Franklin is going to introduce an idea called the Albany Plan of Union. The Albany Plan of Union was an attempt to essentially unify the colonies. A council of representatives would be created under the Albany Plan of Union, and they would oversee the defense of the colonies and trade for the colonies and westward expansion of the colonies. But it didn't pass. And the main reason it didn't pass? Because the individual colonies didn't want to give up their tax dollars to pay for this. While it didn't pass, the Albany Plan of Union is important to us because it's going to lay the foundation for what will become the revolutionary government in the near future. But we'll talk about that in a future lesson. As the war went, France at first had the advantage, but over time, England took control of the actual war. King George got to the point in about 1763 where he was tired of fighting. The wars around the world were coming to an end, and everyone was just done. And so he is going to negotiate the Peace of Paris, or what we refer to as the Treaty of Paris of 1763. In this treaty, Spain is going to cede Florida to Great Britain. On top of that, France is essentially going to be eliminated from North America. Spain will get all the territorial land west of the Mississippi, and Great Britain will get all the land east of the Mississippi. One group who was never even invited to the peace talks is the Native Americans. And they're going to have a little bit of a problem with the Treaty of Paris. Because once Great Britain got control of all those lands east of the Mississippi, that meant the Ohio River Valley was wide open again, and the colonists started to expand out there. They felt like they had the right to do that since they had fought alongside Great Britain against France, and they deserved the spoils of the victory. Great Britain had won all this land. They're British citizens, so they have every right to expand into the western part of the English holdings. Well, the Native Americans, specifically Chief Pontiac of the Ottawas, was not too happy with the English encroachment into the Ohio River Valley. So he's going to bring together a number of different tribes, and they're going to launch what's known as Pontiacs Rebellion. Pontiacs Rebellion is going to kind of open the eyes of Great Britain, saying, you know what, we just got out of a war. We don't want to go into another war. So this is going to spur Parliament to pass the Proclamation Line of 1763. And what the Proclamation Line essentially did was it told the colonists and the Native Americans that there would be a geographical line that followed along the crest of the Appalachian Mountains. The colonists were told you cannot expand west of that land, and the Native Americans were told no one else is coming. Don't worry about it. But there was something to worry about because, again, the colonists felt that they had earned that right to expand westward because they had fought in the war alongside the British soldiers. They had died with them. They had been wounded with them, and they said, we have earned this right. So you're going to start to see a little bit of resentment start to bubble up between the colonists and Great Britain at this time. The effects of this war are going to be very important going forward because other than the Proclamation Line of 1763, England had to kind of rethink its entire empire. The war cost a ton of money. In fact, due to the French and Indian War, Great Britain's debt doubled. And on top of that, they're putting a lot of money into the colonies for soldiers and protection of the colonists from the Native Americans and such. So one of the other major effects of this is going to be that the English government has to find new sources of revenue. And the only way a government can earn revenue is through taxation. And so they're going to start looking to the colonies to contribute more to their protection and their upkeep and everything else. The war was fought in their region. They should help foot the bill. And that there is going to really start causing resentment between Great Britain and the colonists. That's going to be our next video. If you have any questions, feel free to post them in the comments below. Other than that, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.